How many of us live the same year on repeat in one way or another? So we're really looking today about planning smarter, having those daily actions, but also not being too tight in that, actually trusting whether it's the universe or whether it's, you have a God, religion, whatever it is for you, just letting some of it go and allow the rest to work for you. Welcome to the Property Mindset Podcast, where I'm Emma Howitt, mentor investor, and your guide to building wealth, freedom, and personal transformation through property. Property isn't just about bricks and mortar. It's really about building the life that you truly desire. And in this space, we don't just talk strategy, we really deep dive into mindset. Something I found is missing in most other industries, but has been an absolute game changer for me in the professional property circles. So, what are we talking about today? Well, it's a new year. So, it is new year, no change. And it's very much about how to stop living the same year on repeat. And we are going to look at planning smarter, acting daily, and really trusting the universe with the rest. So let's turn dreams into actions and actions into success. So, welcome to today's episode. So, we are in a new year. And as the title says, new year, no change. How many of us live the same year on repeat in one way or another? So we're really looking today about planning smarter, having those daily actions, but also not being too tight in that, actually trusting whether it's the universe or whether it's, you have a God, religion, whatever it is for you, just letting some of it go and allow the rest to work for you. So, if you're anything like me and my clients with this new year, there's kind of a mix of excitement, isn't there? But there's also a bit of pressure. You want this year to potentially be different. You've got some new goals, some big goals, you've got more lists, you probably could have a few more shoulds. And some of these things can feel really heavy on us. And Denzel Washington he just puts it beautifully. Dreams without goals are just dreams, and ultimately they fuel disappointment. You must apply discipline and consistency, because without commitment, you'll never start, and without consistency, you'll never finish. So, really, this episode is about that missing piece between your big dreams and your daily life. And at the same time, I've been really understanding and resonating with kind of a more spiritual side, a more sort of spiritual approach, whether that's trusting in God or trusting in the universe, that there is a plan, that things will work out, even if they don't look perhaps how you expected them to. I've been introduced recently to a fantastic book by Gabrielle Bernstein, and she teaches that your purpose is to surrender to the love of the universe so that you can live a happy life. And I do believe that we are all striving just to be happy, whether that's, happy in what you're doing, happy in your life, happy with those who surround you. There is a certain amount of, I think, happiness that we all strive to be. So today I'm really looking to how we can collide these two worlds together. So practical planning and this kind of spiritual surrender, which, by the way, might sound really kooky, but there is so much scientific evidence supporting these things. So it's really worth having a deep dive into. So we're going to cover how to set clear goals, how to follow simple structures, but also to leave enough space for God or the universe to still surprise you. So when planning goes wrong, so let's start with things that maybe you've experienced before. Have you ever written a long kind of New Year's list of goals and then in February you've forgotten about it? Or even worse, and I have done this, you get to the following December and you're kind of grappling around and you're suddenly like, oh, were those the goals that I wrote this year? And you'd completely forgotten about them. And what a shame, because you were so invested in them, 12 months before, and they've just completely been lost. But equally, you can juggle, and again, I'm guilty of this, of having so many ambitions that you're literally like, how am I going to fit it all in? I've got a huge analysis paralysis. Where do I go from here? And another one, and again, I've fallen into all of these, by the way. So, um, is that you can plan something so tightly, and I literally can do this. I don't know about anyone else, but I have multiple things that I'm juggling. I have, young children. I have a family. I have I have lots of animals. I have, parents that I help to support. I have my businesses. Gosh, I hadn't even thought of those. I have this podcast. There's just so many things that I have to plan for. And I can be really strict and tight with my scheduling. And, if I don't fit it, then I can often feel like a failure. Napoleon Hill said, a goal is a dream with a deadline. And Alexander Graham Bell added, before anything else, preparation is the key to success. So, what generally happens, and you'll hear this a lot, and there's statistics, I don't have them, but a lot of us have dreams, like, don't we? Oh, I want to do this, and I'd like to, fly in a jet, and oh, whatever it is, I want to be in the Maldives in January, whatever it is. So we have these dreams, and a few of us translate those into goals, but really very few people then translate those into this sustainable plan that we can actually live with. And what has been really key for me is coming back to it, not just once a year, not just once a month, but daily. And this is what I'm trying to help in this episode, for us to really keep on track by keep reminding ourselves of all this hard work we've done, all this planning, all this dreaming of where we can be. So if you're kind of start tired of setting these goals, but it just never gets you anywhere, or, so many go beside the wayside, then definitely this episode is for you. So a few years ago, I came across this quadrant, and I can't for the life of me remember who recommended it, but whoever it is, it wasn't mine, but I think it's fantastic. And I've called it the Year on Purpose Quadrant. And it's basically just a really simple structure. And helping have a structure and something that you can repetitively come back to gives you this year on purpose. And this quadrant is really simple, very, very simple idea. So if you imagine literally horizontal line and a vertical line, and you've got 4 quadrants. And in the top left, you have your yearly goals. Okay, and there's just 3, 1, 2, 3, really simple. Top right is your 90-day goals. And again, just 3, 1, 2, 3. Bottom left, you have your weekly goals. And again, just 3. You're getting the pattern here. 1, 2, 3. And in the bottom right, you have your daily goals. And again, just 3. So that's it. Not, a huge page of them, not 10 pages, just each day knowing and visualizing and seeing what do I want to achieve for the year? But that is quite big, isn't it? And quite often it's too far, it's too much. So I love, and we're going to come through some books and recommendations as well, is I like to work my year in 90 days. And in that 90 days, it's suddenly much more attainable. So if you can start looking at, okay, so for the next few months, these are my main goals, then my goodness, it's so much easier to then break that down into weekly goals and then daily goals. Um, Pablo Picasso said, our goals can only be reached through a vehicle of a plan in which we must fervently believe and upon which we must vigorously act. And I really feel something like this quadrant, this My Year on Purpose quadrant, is that vehicle to give us that plan, which we can believe in because we're looking at it every day. We're really visualizing, we're really emotionally getting involved, and then we're taking massive action. So let's just give, an example of what might be the way you could use it. So your yearly goal might be to purchase an investment property, two, to have, X amount of pounds worth of cash flow, and three, to complete a successful renovation. So that's kind of like your big goals. Now, I'm just making this very simple. You could have massive, massive goals, but this, you know, is pretty simple. So you might have a job as well. But so what might your 90-day goals be? So you might need to get obviously finance in place, finance and deposit in place. Two, build your power team. So whether that's your broker, solicitor, agent. And three, decide on your exact, strategy for finding. And if you haven't seen, but I love talking about the way of the strategies of property. And that is your strategy of finding, your strategy of acquiring, and your strategy of monetizing. So those are really, really key. And then your weekly goals might be viewings, talking to agents, speaking to your network. It might be educating yourself more, so courses, listening to podcasts, keeping positive. And three, it might be your systems, it might be your financials, perhaps your budgets, and spreadsheets, etc. And then your daily actions might be perhaps money moving actions. So it might be making calls, emails, it might be learning, so it might be reading your book, it might be taking a course, and it might be also um relationships, building those relationships, so connecting with people. So how many people do you need to connect with? Because it might be to do with your power team, your accountant, your builders, but equally it might be your network to get in those investors. So that gives you an idea around how it can work. And Christina Woodkey said, vague goals are the enemy of progress. Now, what this does, and honestly, guys, I don't write it every day. I'm going to be very, very honest, but I work very hard on writing this out each day. So the night before, well, on a Sunday, I write out obviously the one for the week. And then the evening before, so like Monday night, I'll write out the one for Tuesday. So imagine that you're writing out your yearly goals pretty much every day, 5 to 7 days a week. And each time you're visualizing, emotionally getting involved, and you'd be amazed how things can really change when you are focusing so much on these massive, massive goals that you're putting into place. So I would highly recommend, if you're driving, probably don't stop, but make sure that you take time to jot down these goals and take time to commit to doing this quadrant to ensure that you keep that plan in place, and you really understand how you're going to move forward. So now we come on to the slightly more kooky side. There is definitely danger of being over controlled. And I think this is where it gets really interesting, because we can definitely have this trap, I suppose you could call it, of goal setting that obviously many high achievers will fall into. And we have this belief that if we just plan hard enough, that we can control everything. And let's be fair, lots of entrepreneurs, we can be control freaks. Just putting it out there. You don't have to admit it yourself, but I definitely think that is there. Um, so we have to recognize that there is such a thing as tunnel vision, only being open to one exact thing, one exact way of doing it, one exact timeline. And I know, one of the things I've spoken about a lot before is every goal has a gestation period. And like a baby, like a tree, and sometimes that gestation period is not what we anticipated. But that doesn't mean that we should just stop, we should just give up. We just understand that it's a different gestation time to the one we had believed. And if we're constantly beating ourselves up about this, then clearly we can say that perhaps God or the universe didn't get our memo about our spreadsheet and our exact timelines and our exact, property and here and there. So this is, for me, really interesting. So Brian Tracy says goals allow you to control the direction of change in your favor. I'm going to read that again because it's really powerful. This is from Brian Tracy. Goals allow you to control the direction of change in your favor. And this is really true, but only up to a point. Life still has its say, doesn't it? It still throws things at us. Deals fall through, projects get delayed, something, the car gets broken into and stolen. There are things that happen. And sometimes a no is actually a bigger yes in disguise. If you're ready to take your property journey to the next level, check out my Property Success Mindset Formula course on Udemy. Inside, you'll discover actionable strategies and exercises designed to shift your thinking, boost your confidence, and help you navigate property challenges with clarity. Whether you're just starting out or looking to break through to a new level, this course delivers the mindset tools professional investors use every day. Visit the link in the show notes to unlock your property potential. And remember, your biggest asset is not just your portfolio, but the way you think. Have you experienced that before? Where you think, oh, this has happened and oh, everything's, terrible. But actually, in hindsight, you think, wow, if that hadn't happened, then these other things wouldn't have occurred. And actually, now I'm in a much better place. Okay. But we do have to search for those things sometimes. So Leonard Bernstein has famously said, to achieve great things, two things are needed: a plan and not quite enough time. So, there's always an element that we are unable to control, that we don't control. And rather than fighting that, this is where we need to just trust the universe, or if you believe in God, or just trust that things will happen, things will come about. So, this great book that I've been introduced to by Gabrielle Bernstein is The Universe Has Your Back. And it really talks about, how many of us have woken up at 3 a.m? I haven't done this, or I'm not quite sure how I'm going to, get the money to pay for this unexpected eventuality that's happened in my property. I had it last year where we opened up a floor, and oh my gosh, that was some things that were totally unexpected. So it's taking us from fear to actually just having faith that things will be okay. That, instead of this constant grabbing, I've got to control it, I've got to be in control, that you actually believe that there is kind of this supportive force that's actually working with you. And one of her core messages is that actually your job is just to show up with a willingness and take obviously action, but kind of aligned action, and then just let the outcome happen and just surrender to it. And what she writes is your purpose is to surrender to the love of the universe so that you can live a happy life. So, how that's all a bit kooky, Emma. How can we work that with our structured plan? So, let's kind of think of it in a different way. So basically, you've got your goals and you've got your quadrant to set the direction. You have got your daily actions, and this is kind of your way of saying, right, I'm in, I'm committed, I'm taking these actions. And then think about it that then the universe or God handles the form, the exact timing, and also the unexpected opportunities. Because I think when we're so tied in, we see those unexpected as walls, barriers, things that have gone wrong. But if we look at them as unexpected opportunities, things can really start to change. And Gabrielle, she often talks about asking for guidance, being really willing to actually look at things from a very different perspective. And again, I think that's a really key one. Like, you can meet somebody and they may have a view on the property investing that you're doing, and you might get a bit prickly and a bit like, well, I think I'm doing it right and you're doing it wrong. We can start being a bit immature, can't we? But actually, if we can start putting ourselves in their shoes, if we can start empathizing and listening to what they're saying, my goodness, can we learn some things? We might not agree with everything that they say, but they can often come up with some really great ideas. And as much as it can rile you, I've often had it where I've been like, "Whoa," and then I've been like, actually, that's quite an interesting way of looking at things. And that gives you a different way of looking at an opportunity that you had imagined, and it might even be better. So these things are all really key. So what could we do with our sort of simple daily fusion? How can we fuse our goals and surrender? So what could we make it look like into a daily rhythm that you can actually follow? So I'm going to do 3 steps. So step 1, obviously the most important, is to set those daily goals. So you're already writing out your entire quadrant, and hopefully you've written it out the night before, and then you feel you're less likely to wake up at 3 a.m, by the way. So you're going to get up, you're going to look at that quadrant, and you can see that you've got 3 actions that perhaps move towards your money, your business, moving your property business forward. It might be learning, mindset, growing, relationships. It could also be, supporting your energy, your well-being, whatever it is. Okay. But you are looking at your daily 3. And Tony Robbins says setting goals is the first step in turning the invisible into the visible. Oh, I love that. And those daily 3s is where this kind of invisible can really become tangible. I would highly recommend, I'm just going to throw in some books here as well. If you haven't read it, oh my gosh, The 12-Week Year by Brian Moran and Michael Lennington. They're amazing. It basically, as I mentioned earlier, it talks about 12-week sprints. Instead of this kind of vague year-long intention, it really gives you this sort of captured time. And the second one is the compound effect by Darren Hardy. This is all about sort of how small, consistent actions really can accumulate to massive changes over time. So, highly recommend that. So, step two is to try and add one moment of surrender. So I'm really pushing back. I'm not great at meditation, but I'm really pushing back into meditation. And there are lots of ways. I've been looking at lots of different ways. I've been trained in transcendental meditation, and it's great. But you also have guided meditations. There's so much on the internet now. There's no reason not to spend five. And you can literally go, 10 minutes guided meditation on YouTube or wherever. And there's so many things. But after those actions, it's really useful at the beginning of the day, whenever works for you, is to take that breath, really just take a moment and just think. And again, this is sort of feedback from Gabrielle Bernstein. Think something like, I align my actions with my intentions, and I'm open to something even better than what I've written here. If there's a better way, please show me, and I will be open to it. Kooky or not? Lao Tzu is credited with the line, to the mind that is still, the whole universe surrenders. So do try and get into this stillness. It might be 30 seconds before the chaos of the day. It might be 30 minutes, an hour of meditation, whatever works for you, where you can shift from this forcing everything to happen to partnering with the end, and choosing to trust and see yourself guided rather than alone. And Bernadette Logue describes trusting the universe as actually having faith that everything is happening exactly as it should, even if you don't see it as the full picture yet. And then step three, review with curiosity, not judgment, guys. We've got to just accept what has happened, whether it's, I would really hope that you review every day and certainly review each week as well. So what did I do to move forward? Where did the plans change? What did those changes bring me? And did it feel forced? What felt like flow? What was working for me? And would I do kind of anything different? Confucius is quoted to have said, when it is obvious that the goals cannot be reached, don't adjust the goals, adjust the action steps. I love that. That is just so cool. And that's a bit like a goal having a gestation period, isn't it? It's just think of something different that you can do. So it's all about kind of tweaking, not necessarily changing the vision. So those were your 3 steps. So set your daily goals, to kind of have a moment of surrender. And then 3, do review with curiosity, not judgment. So I'm going to kind of close up with some quotes and some final book recommendations. And these are really fantastic to take into account as you are moving through your year. And perhaps write these down. I'll put them all in the show notes. And if they really resonate with you at the time, put them on your screensaver or on your mirror, whatever it does to help you. This is by Edwin Louis Cole. There are dreamers and there are planners. The planners make their dreams come true. And so this is very much on the quadrant side of things. Okay. And this is not just, a dreamer. Then we've got Denzel Washington as a reminder. Dreams without goals are just dreams. You must apply discipline and consistently. So this is a real reminder that you've got to be picking those 3 daily goals. You've really got to keep that discipline and consistency. And another line which is often attributed to Leonard Bernstein is, to achieve great things, Two things are needed: a plan and not quite enough time. So, this is to inspire you to act now, not someday. Someday may never come. So, let's just do it now. And from a more kind of spiritual side, when you trust the universe or God, you open yourself up to a world of possibilities. And this is really this sentiment echoed by Gabrielle Bernstein and many, many spiritual leaders. So you've got a really nice kind of balance of high performance and higher perspective in those quotes. And just as a reminder, if you want to go deeper into what we've been talking about today, a reminder of some books and some extra ones. So The 12-Week Year by Brian Moran and Michael Lennington, so brilliant. The Compound Effect, Darren Hardy. And then a few more around sort of mindset and habits. Mindset, The New Psychology of Success by Carol Dweck. My gosh, if you haven't read that one, it is an absolute must. It is incredible around business or life. Next one is High Performance Habits by Brendan Burchard. This kind of helps build clarity, energy, productivity, and real sort of courage around your goals. Then you've got Essentialism, The Disciplined Pursuit of Less. This is by Greg McCowan. It's very much aligned with kind of this 3 goals element, not 30. And definitely saying no is really important. And then you've got more of the surrender and spirituality books. So The Universe Has Your Back, which is the one I've been talking about by Gabrielle Bernstein. It's really about kind of transforming your fear into kind of faith and just learning to trust what's going on around you. And really any other kind of letting go style books work really well from you. Now, if you are tempted to buy them all, that is fine, but really pick, 1 or 2 for your first 90-day block to really help you understand how you can start juggling everything. And let that book be part of your weekly or daily learning, your actions. So, wow, I hope that hasn't been too much for some of you. But remember, don't just write a long list of resolutions. Use your quadrant, okay, to plan the outcomes because it really, really does depend on you. And then, of course, open yourself up to allowing and knowing that God or the universe truly has your back. Oh my gosh. So today we explored New Year, No Change, how to stop living the same year on repeat. And do remember, property success isn't just about what you do, it's about how you think. And when you combine a strong strategy with an unstoppable mindset, there's just no limit to what you can achieve. So do reflect on today's episode and consider, what is that one action that you're going to take this week? Are you going to do that quadrant? Are you going to do some meditation? What is it that you're going to do? And if this episode has helped you get clear on your goals and how to trust the universe with the how, the next perfect step is to deepen your mindset work. So I would highly recommend go and listen to episode 28, which is the Stickman mindset, property success unlocked. In this episode, I break down how your thoughts, feelings, and actions are all connected and how aligning them can really completely change your results in property and in life. If you're ready to sort of stop living that same year on repeat and really become the person who follows through on their goals, then episode 28 is a great place to go and help you shift your mindset and sort of create that inner alignment, that makes those daily actions easier. So, of course, as always, if you know someone who's struggling on their property journey, do please share this episode. It really could be the game changer that they need. And then remember that the more people we help, actually, the greater our own wealth in every sense of the word. And growing this community means growing the potential we all have to succeed. And do remember, your mindset is your greatest property. Keep building it.